Welcome again to Finding Fringe. Today I have a good friend of mine, goes back more than 30 years, and we're talking about Nigeria, which is an interesting topic indeed because we're in the United States and we're in Oregon, but there is a organization in Salem called Salem for Refugees. They bring in individuals from the Congo. I know they brought individuals in from Latin American countries, and so we have a diaspora here in Oregon tied to various reasons why individuals would be refugees. So today it's Madu Ajaja, and he's an activist who has a deep interest in lots of things, including socioeconomic, criminal, political, and environmental justice. He is a Pan-Africanist, which I am. He's a registered nurse living in Houston. He has got medical, surgical, orthopedic, and industrial correctional oncology, pediatric, and geriatric nursing under his belt, including in Nigeria, South Africa, and the U.S. So he is in Houston, and he's also the broadcaster and anchor of Nigeria Now at ONN and Nightingale Radio International, and he is a convener of Open Nigeria and Africa Unite. So the issue here is obviously we're working with Obama's African. We talk about geopolitics here. African is definitely one of the monsters in Africa with all those military bases. It was set up by Obama, and Pan-Africanists and black nationalist organizations have certainly gone against AFRICOM in its 17-year existence. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about lots of issues, including the fight for a better Nigeria. You can certainly read up on Nigeria. It's got a colonial history that is typical of a lot of African nations. The British had it, and they gained their independence in 1960, and so it became a republic in 1963. So those years of independence, it's gone through civilian and military rule. It's definitely a country that has been divided. 220 million people in Nigeria, and it's basically there's ethnic, regional, and religious issues, and they don't have a nationalistic ideology which would create a common good. I know there's this issue of the world wide forum, the whole concept of killing national boundaries and letting it be a complete globalist world. But I think, Madhu, we can talk about why it's important to fight for this country, oil-rich, exploited, and thanks a lot. The Empire Britain, and now the new Empire America, United States. Welcome to my show.
Thank you very much. It's such a great honor, brother and friend Paul. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you very much, sir, for this great honor.
So how did you get to Houston? So you're from Nigeria. You were born in Nigeria. Where in Nigeria?
I was born at Ababo in Delta State of Nigeria in 1962.
1962. And so why were you not there in your teens and your 20s, and now why aren't you in Nigeria?
Well, I lived in Nigeria for probably a half of my life before I moved out of Nigeria to first South Africa and then later to the United States. The reason is the deplorable condition in which Nigeria has been serially placed, and that has just reached a very dangerous crescendo in the last 26 years.
Well, I mean, it's a country that I'm not a big fan of many parts of the United Nations, but they're over $400 billion have been stolen between 1960 and the year 2000. Sani Abacha probably took 3-4% of the country's GDP every year when he was president. It's a staggering amount of money that has put Nigeria like so far backwards in terms of social safety nets and its own internal economy. It's just all a plundering kind of scenario for Nigeria.
Yes, the story of Nigeria, as you know, and I'm so happy. Sometimes I wonder how you know as much, and even somehow deeper information that I don't have what you have in Nigeria. That goes to show how interested and how much love you have for Nigeria and the African continent. It's like the country was founded on a very wrong foundation. That was one. We have a serious foundational problem, like those that we refer to as the founding fathers of the country. They were not prepared to build any nation out of Nigeria. They were just driven by tribal and maybe somehow religious interest and corruption. So corruption has its roots in Nigeria for a very long time. It's something that started from independence, and that was a culture that those who colonized the country, I'm talking about Imperial Britain, put into the country to make it never work. Nigeria was designed to never work. And then from what people do, they go there not to serve the people, but to loot and take for themselves and not for anybody. And it became a tradition. It became a culture. No Nigerian, hardly. I don't even see any Nigerian who has stood up to want to serve Nigeria beyond serving himself and his or her cronies. That has been the trajectory. And it just got worse that the country is looking. I don't want to be so pessimistic to say that the country is looking so near irredeemable, because of corruption. Corruption is a very, very terrible thing that has torn the country apart. And it has crept into the grassroots, and you know what that means for a country. When corruption becomes a tradition, the country finds it so difficult to find its rhythm. And that is where we are right now. Nigeria deserves a revolution, not this. Now, politicians cannot solve the problems of Nigeria. Let me put it at that. So for now, thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, I sent to you an article on Gambia, and Gambia is ready for revolution, and it's young people being arrested who are protesting these colonial legacy, the elites that are stealing and plundering. But your own country, you have the Igbos in eastern Nigeria, and that was a genocide. And talk a little bit about Bafria. The whole concept of this country. People know very little about our own country, but they're Biafra in Nigeria, and that whole military genocide of Nigeria back in the 60s.
Yes, I happen to be a young little kid at the time all these sort of things started playing out. Like I said, the country was founded on a wrong footing. None of the founding fathers, maybe perhaps one, was prepared to build a nation. But the other partners were not interested in building a nation. So within a few years of the country's existence, the country cascaded into this orgy of violence, which started from the west of Nigeria, where the Yorubas are. And there's a hangover from the amalgamation treaty that was signed in 1914 that did not take cognizance of the country's over 350 ethnic nationalities. It was just 6 Nigerians who were arranged. I don't know, I think they were entrepreneurs who did not know what to do with the vast land that was available in Nigeria, and plus the British came, 22 Britons came working on behalf of the Royal, the so-called Royal Imperial, Imperial conglomerate. They came and put this sham together that we recognize today as Nigeria. And it's so sad that the rest of the country, what became the country, were not a party to it. They were not involved. Their consent was not sought before they signed an amalgamation treaty that included two Fulanis, two Yoruba elites, one Kanuri, and one from where we refer to as the Niger Delta today. 6 of them signed the country into hell. Well, perhaps ignorantly, because they didn't know better, they didn't know what they were doing. The British tricked them into signing an amalgamation, which was a genocide that has become a generational. So, because they were unlike them put together, and at independence, some of those who agitated for the decolonization of Nigeria were not part, were not even at the party of the lowering of the British Union Jack. They were not there in anger. So those were the people that the British now started punishing for the role they played in the agitation that led Nigeria to the wobbly independence that we have right now. So, and most of those people were from the Igbos, who fought for the decolonization of Nigeria. But unfortunately, they were kicked out of the club and put in a corner. So when the country started, an election was held in 1959. The one of those actors, British actors, who was part of the sham, confessed, perhaps before he died, that it was the biggest embarrassment that the British had to bring upon Europe, and especially the British people. So that was how he described it. And it didn't take too long before trouble started. The man in the north, after Ahmadu Bello, the premier in the north, their party did not win the election because one of those whose party won the election, that was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, he didn't wanted to build a nation. He wanted to build a nation for Nigeria. He was at the center, but the other ones were at the periphery. They didn't want to be part of what will become a nation. So he made compromises. His party won the election, but he allowed the party that did not win election to produce the prime minister. And the prime minister was a lackey who did not have a mind of his own. He was taking direction from Ahmadu Bello in the north, who was the premier of the north. So things started happening. Then there were these young military officers led by Major Patrick Kaduna Nzogo, who was the director of the military intelligence at the time. And then they had this military intelligence that there was a plan to overrun the country by those driven by jihadist ideology. Remember, in 1804, there was a huge jihad in the north of Nigeria that dispossessed the Hausa people of their land. And this jihad was led by a man who migrated from where they call Futa Jalon in present-day Senegal, and his name was Osman Danfodio. So Ahmadu Bello was a grandson of Osman Danfodio. And before Osman Danfodio died, they said that he left a message for them that they must continue the jihad until they dropped the Quran in the sea. Yes, that's to signal the conquest of the last town, the south of the country. And for them, it is a generational thing to these days. So when you hear Boko Haram and Fulani bandits, that is the mission that they have been carrying on. And for them, it is something that they must do. until they take control of the whole of Nigeria. Anyway, so getting back to what happened in 1966, these young military officers discovered what was happening, so they quickly put a coup together to stop this from happening. The coup was quite successful, and along the line, something happened that there were some military officers. Again, those military officers were Igbos who wanted the country to be together. The Igbos led by Abu Ironsi, and then another principal actor that helped stop the coup was leader Odomegu Ojukwu, who later became the Biafran leader. So now the media in Nigeria has never been good. They have been ever corrupt. And they're driven by a section of the country. They coined it an Igbo coup. As if the Igbos in Nigeria sat together to plan a coup to upstage Nigeria and take power, which is far from the truth. Many people, many scholars, including those who were to be beneficiaries of this coup, have come out to say no, it wasn't an Igbo coup. But they have successfully, the media in Nigeria and those who drive it, successfully have stamped this in the head of Nigerians. So events quickly unfolded. There was this huge massacre of the Igbos in the north of Nigeria and elsewhere in Nigeria, but heavily in the north. Before they declared what they called a civil war that I know was a genocide. It remains a genocide because it was a genocide, looking at how it was carried out, jumping on one people by the whole of Nigeria, manipulated by these jihadists here, that led to the massacre of over 5 million people from the same place. I don't know what other name to give it other than a genocide. So they started, so the remnants of the Igbos living in the north had to migrate. And there was this huge pressure on Ojukwu, who never wanted Nigeria to be divided. He was one of those who talked to Nzobo to stop the idea of a coup. So they negotiated a settlement that returned Nzobo to Lagos, and he was arrested, and along with the other groupies, whatever they call them. But I see them as revolutionaries. Revolutionaries who saw what is going on in Nigeria today. Revolutionaries like Thomas Sankara. Revolutionaries like the young man today, Ibrahim Traore. Yes, they saw Nigeria ahead of 50 years, maybe 60 years ahead of what is taking place today. So sadly, the highest ranking general in the army, after the government came down, the highest ranking army general was Abu Ironsi. So he took reins of power. And Abu Ironsi, again, was an Igbo man. The first thing he did was to bring up a decree that united the country, though, through a military fiat. Yes, I don't know what anybody would have done at that stage, especially in a country that was in disarray from the political violence already taking place between two rivals in the southwest of Nigeria, Obafemi Awolowo and his one-time ally, Kintola. Yes. So that was how it started. And before we knew anything, the Igbo started moving en masse to their homeland. And now there was this pressure on Ojukwu, who was appointed governor not too long ago of the Eastern Nigerian region. Okay. So they were putting him under a lot of pressure. He had no choice, looking at how much they were massacring his people, than the people through him declared their own country. And that was when they had came down. I saw it from the eye of a little child who was about 5-6 years old, and he had to be at the periphery of gunfire booming 24/7. And then how it impacted my own family, how my own immediate older brother died without access to medical care. It brings sorrow to my heart every day I think about it. And that is the reason I've adopted this position I've adopted about Nigeria. That is why we are talking about the ideology of open Nigeria. That I believe is the surest way out of the quagmire we have in Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, this is the basic characteristic of British colonialism, is that they want a customary authority in Africa. So it's different than the French, who strive to create French citizens out of Africans. The British retain Nigerians in their ethnic constitutions, and so this is a way of splitting people along ethnic lines. And there's a concept of strangers' quarters, the Sabangari, the concept of the ghettoization of Nigeria, with the Igbos, being ghettoized and called strangers in their own land. And this is just the legacy of the white imperialist domination, and it continues today. Even though most African nations have gained their independence, they're still under the thumb of economic and global colonization. The French and the British and the Americans are still messing big with most of the African nations. Kenya is now a proxy of the United States, going into Haiti now to mess up that country. I mean, there's 3 African nations that are supposed members of NATO in a weird way: Morocco, Kenya, and what's the other one? They're working as thugs for America, and this is 50, 60 years after that genocide that you talked about, Madhu. It must be disheartening to see how rampant the concept of imperialism, post-imperialism, is taking over not only Nigeria, which is the largest populated country in Africa, but other countries where these military bases are located throughout the African continent.
Absolutely. And that is the reason why the African mind has to change. What they did to the mind of the African is horrible. How they made the African a stranger to himself, a stranger to his country, and a stranger to his brothers and sisters, that he must now unlive in order to survive, is sad. And this is what is happening right now in Africa, with Ibrahim Traore becoming a symbol of the sovereignty and true independence of Nigeria. This is why they want him out, by all means and at all costs. And again, using who? An African. Using who? Some Africans. Yes, either born in Africa or in the diaspora, holding positions of authority that they can deploy for the good of our oppressors, and to the detriment and disadvantage of the African people. So it's a new consciousness that this situation that we are experiencing right now. What is great time to be an African? What is great time to be alive? I'm hoping that we start thinking and really thinking for us, and as Africans, and with the next generation in mind, who must not continue this legacy of being chained down any and everywhere in Africa.
I'm thinking of, I've read about the Black Scorpion, Benjamin Adekunle, and here's a quote. He was one of the war commanders. I want to see no Red Cross, no Caritas, no World Council of Churches, no Pope, no missionary, and no UN delegation. I want to prevent even one Igbo from having even one piece to eat before their capitulation. We shoot at everything that moves, and when our troops march into the center of Igbo territory, we shoot at everything, even at things that do not move. And this is, for me, I know I'm going to jump here, this is what Israel is doing to the Gazans, to Palestine. Shoot everything that moves. I mean, in fact, that attitude went to Vietnam, and shoot anything that moves is the name of a book of some anti-Vietnam War activists, military aged men, MAM, even Colin Powell, Major Colin Powell, was one of the creators of that policy, where you shoot at MAMs, military-aged men, and that could be a child of 13. And so it's kind of scary that the Black Scorpion that I read about in your history is now AFRICOM Commander Michael Langley. So he is an African American, and he is part of AFRICOM, which is this ruthless organization that is America on steroids, with its forced members of the civil society into silence. It's this whole concept of deadly violence vis-a-vis America. It's a very kind of shaky kind of concept I'm hearing of the Black Scorpion, and now we got the Black Commander, 4-star General Michael Langley. Crazy stuff, Madhu.
Yes, crazy indeed. And the story of Black Scorpion, and everything he said, he did. He was a daredevil terrorist who massacred the Igbos, fellow Nigerians, with reckless abandon. And it is sad how nobody was held accountable for the genocide, the wanton genocide that took place in Nigeria. It was sad how no war criminal was taken and tried. I think what happened to Nigeria remains the worst tragedy in Africa, if not the world, because of the quantum amount of people's lives that were lost, and it. Now, equating General Langley with Dekule Black Scorpion. Yes, I don't see anything wrong, but the good thing is that Michael Langley appears to be on his own, because the diaspora Africans, I'm talking about the descendants of slaves, are outdistancing themselves from him, because he didn't appear to know the history of Africa or the history of his ancestors. I don't know what drives him. I don't want to believe that he was acting the script of anybody, but if that is the case, I'm sure he's getting the flack, from the outrage, from the public. I'm talking about globally about this. And I hope that serves him as an instruction to think seriously about continuing on his deadly mission, because the greatest thing that has happened is that now African young people are becoming increasingly aware, with the exception perhaps of some of those in Nigeria that we are still working on now, because they have been hammered down by this evil of tribalism and all that, religious nationalism. So I'm hoping that with time, with all that is unfolding, they will begin to see all those facts that we have been showing them, that we can build a country, a multi-ethnic country, without letting one another's blood. And, with that sense of urgency of nationalism and patriotism that is needed for us to defend our country's territorial integrity and its sovereignty, and for us as a people that should be able to control their own destiny. So it's an interesting time for Mike General Langley. I've sent him a message. A lot of Africans are sending him a message to go back and study the history of slavery, study the history of colonialism, and study the history of imperialism, and then study his own history as a black person here in the United States. So perhaps that will provide a sense of direction going forward for him. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they have they're some of the strongest anti-imperialist alliance. You know, the Alliance of Sahel states. They're throwing the soldiers out. The U.S. Had 1,000 soldiers in Niger, and this is a growing apathy on the ground against these former colonizers, and now, of course, the neo-colonizers that include mostly the United States. But they want to grasp onto whatever stranglehold they have over Africa. And like I said, Kenya is now a major non-NATO ally, including Morocco and, of course, Egypt. And, Langley was quoted in a Senate committee hearing in March of 2023, quote, "We need to be able to maintain access and influence across the Maghreb from Morocco all the way to Libya." So to hell with African sovereignty and the human right to self-determination. So he is just another iteration of what Cornel West called Obama when Obama ran, the N word, plantation, house N word. This is what we have. The Black Caucus is considered the misleadership caucus. This must be a little chilling for you to be in Houston, that terrible state, and chilling for you to see all this African history, African American history being wiped away with Musk and Trump at the helm, and colleges are running around like, I hate to use this analogy, like chickens without their heads, because they don't know how to stop this attack on history, so-called DEI, whatever you want to call it. It's still affirmative action. It's still the history of this country's Monroe Doctrine, this country's work in the Philippines, this country's early history of stealing land from Mexico and Spain. It's incumbent upon young people to know the history, even if it goes back 500 years, so they can advance forward, Madhu, to have a true concerted force, revolutionary force. And to be honest, many people believe that the only way you get rid of Zionism is through war. I mean, armed resistance and armed revolution is certainly what a lot of young people in Africa and in other countries are demanding.
Absolutely, Paul. Like I said earlier, the awareness, the level of consciousness, especially among young Africans, who I think the internet has played a huge role in bringing a lot of things that young people, some people, including those in my generation, did not know before now about the history of Africa, how Africa went through slavery, colonialism, imperialism, apartheid, and now globalization, which serves those who created them as a certificate of occupancy, that they can come and occupy and take Africa unchallenged. But I have a message for those who still think that it will be business like before, that they will face a very stiff opposition from this generation of Africans. It's not going to happen the way it happened with our ancestors deep back in history. People are getting aware. People are asking a lot of questions. Why are we 1.5 billion people with over 45% of the Earth's resources, and yet we are the poorest people? This is the question people are asking from Nairobi to Lagos, Ouagadougou, Accra, and everywhere in Africa. It's a very serious question, and I don't think they are playing. The young generation of Africans are asking a lot of questions. You might want to ask why people from this very rich continent still have to march on foot across the scorching heat in the Sahara Desert to get to Libya, where they are traded as slaves years, and a lot of them end up, dying in the process. And those who are able to escape, escape into raft boats across the wild Mediterranean, where a lot of them get drowned and a few survived, and only to be held in Italy and other parts of Europe in concentration camps where they are fed dog food like animals. No. There's anger, widespread anger across Africa. And that is the reason why the dictators, the puppets that serve the interests of Imperial Europe are now shaking. And then they don't know what to do but unleashing violence, hoping that will be able to help them keep this ravaging and stampeding young people at bay. But I tell them, when a time like this has come, I don't see anything that can stop the people from having their way. It may be a little while, before they can do it, but I see a mass revolution. What we are seeing in Burkina Faso, I believe, is a child's play. So what is going to happen in Nigeria in perhaps no distant time? Yes, because Nigeria is the greatest obstacle to the liberation of Africa as we speak right now. Something got to happen in Nigeria for Africa to be truly liberated. And I see it happening. Because what we have in Nigeria is not of Nigeria. What we have in Nigeria was not made by Nigeria. What we have in Nigeria has no respect for Nigeria. What we have in Nigeria is a representative of the enemies of Nigeria and the African people. So I see, like a lot of other people are seeing, a huge, large-scale revolution, that's taking place in Africa. Ibrahim Traore is a symbol, and the African people are not joking with him, especially his peers. He's a young man, 37-year-old man, so vast in the history of Africa, and a lot of what is playing out that has led the continent to be an empire of poverty. We can't continue to have it that way. Thank you, sir.
Well, the idea of the MNNA, the major non-NATO ally. So what's happening here is the military-industrial complex, which is supported by both parties in this country, the U.S. duopoly, as I call it. The DoD equipment is then getting into the hands of Egypt, Morocco, and, of course, Kenya. And so this is the way to incite destabilization and insecurity across Africa. So it's the windfall for the military contractors. It's a windfall for the financial capitalists. It's this windfall for all the kids that are going into drone schools and going into surveillance. And it's people like the guy Lucky who runs Androl. It's this rampant militarization of the globe by the imperialists. England is still doing it. Germany is giving weapons, bombs to kill Gazans. What an interesting time, but also sort of a scary time for a revolutionary, Madhu, because it sticks and stones maybe against this net of satellites and surveillance and even the internet. This radio show is being screened through Pegasus and other forms of finding out who the dissidents are. It's pretty scary time too. And not to be a pessimist here, Madhu Ajuju, it's a bigger issue than we can imagine. And you're in Houston as a diaspora, and I'm a black I'm not a black, but I'm a nationalist. I'm for black nationalism and Pan-Africanism. But it's like talking to a person who speaks Greek. They don't even understand why a white guy like me would be so involved in
crazy white guy like you.
Yeah. You got that one? So talk a little bit about the fact that we got this amazing young man who actually went to the 80th anniversary of the end of Nazism, fascism. He was greeted in Moscow just a couple days ago from Burkina Faso. He's an amazing young man who is on the world stage, and he's got a target on his back, I am sure, because he is a Pan-Africanist who is a socialist who's looking for progressive ideals in his own country and in the larger area that he represents. Those three countries now allow individuals to cross borders without passports. So they've created their own little area that I guess is just really getting under the collar of Americans. I mean, the warmongers.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's an amazing time. Ibrahim Traore has come to wake up the sleeping vision that our founding fathers had over 80 years ago. And again, the mission, the dream, the vision of Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Robert Nesta Marley, Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure, Abdel Nasser, and Julius Nyerere and a host of them. Samora Machel, you know the story of Samora Machel. So this young man is an embodiment of all these great Africans, Augustine Neto and all the rest of them, And Robert Mugabe that was so demonized, they demonized him and we hated him and we thought that he was the trouble. And they destroyed the country's economy in order for them to have their way. Now, you see what the resilience that is coming on from Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. You see, if it was before, these guys would have been routed a long time ago. But the people now have come to an understanding that this was the same game of the past, the use of sanctions to create insurrection from within. It's not happening. So the people are ready to sacrifice with their leaders who are leading them right. The good thing is when you lead by example, the people will follow. When you lead with clean hands, you are not corrupt and you have demonstrated it to them. Look here, we have a problem. All of us must unite to solve. You can't beat it. So that is why they are not having as much success as they had hoped since the kicking out of France from this country. Yes, I tell you this, that the greatest knockout that these guys put out was the liberalization of trade and then the opening of those borders. We want more Ibrahim Traore across Africa. I don't care what anybody thinks. We want more of him because as it stands right now, you will agree with me that there is a lot of pressure, on him from the continent as the new face of leadership of the African continent. So he needs help. He needs more help. We need at least 20, 30 Ibrahim Traore. So the oppressors will have enough thinking to do and enough work to do. And that to let them know that we have graduated from the University of Colonialism and Imperialism. We are no longer ready to take it. So if they want to come and be with us, they must come on equal terms. Yes, we are willing to share African resources because we have been a good people. We are the people who have never had the need to go and establish military bases beyond our frontiers. So why should anybody come to put military bases in Africa? Whose interests are they serving? Who are they protecting? And more Africans are dying by the day. You see, since these guys came to power and took over, they are fighting head-on terrorism and banditry without relenting. And they are having great resources. Those who did not see the problem of human rights violations before now that France was committing are now crying. When they are terrorists some of us that they converted into weapons, when they are held accountable, they start shouting about human rights violations. Who are they giving human rights? Did they give anybody human rights? They did not. Those who enslaved our ancestors did not, and created them. Yes, I'm talking about created them for 400 years across the Atlantic. They did not give them human rights, right? Did they? And those who enslaved our people, I'm talking across the other side of it, Trans-Sahara, for 700 years, the Arabs enslaved our people. Did they give them human rights? Who did they give human rights today? So they have no right. They are not in any position to tell anybody what to do. We want Africa that will work for the African people and then share our resources with the rest of the world, whom we choose to share with, and not you coming to take it by force and giving us whatever you like, and then you call it aid. No, we don't need aid. Africa does not need aid. We are not a poor people. Africa is not a poor continent. We are the richest continent on the earth. So we must be allowed, given, or we will take it, our right to self-determination, to be whatever we want to be, and to be those progressive people. Our children need to have good schools. Our children need to have good hospitals. Our children need to have great infrastructure. Our people deserve to be happy. We don't deserve to be traveling across the Sahara. Yes, in those days, in the early time, they created our ancestors. Now we scramble to go out of our countries to become enslaved. This is not a good time for the oppressors. So that is why they are unhappy. That is why they want to do whatever they can to instill the usual fear in us through getting Ibrahim Traore either to compromise or he's out. So, I mean, I don't know how else to explain this, Brother Paul.
No, it's absolutely spot on, and this is true of my places of interest as well. Latin America, Guatemala, El Salvador. We're seeing what imperialism has done in El Salvador with these gangs, so-called gang members, people that are taken off the streets and thrown into a private prison in El Salvador. I mean, the whole dirty wars throughout Nicaragua, fighting the Sandinistas. Even Jimmy Carter allowed the CIA to mine the harbors of Managua when the Sandinistas first overthrew Somoza, another pig, imperialist pig who dominated the people, stole from the people, created more poverty, and of course all the human rights violations. I'm talking to Madhu Ajaja. He's also known as Smart Madhu Ajaja, and we call him the Lion. And we need to talk about Houston and your Rasta. You consider yourself a Rasta, man. Bob Marley, man. You know what I mean, man. And
man.
And you've got a family, and so talk about how you sort of square those corners. That you're this activist. You've got this radio show. You've even ran for the Senate in Nigeria. But you got 3 children, and you're struggling like all of us as a nurse. And you said you might be coming up to Oregon one day. Talk a little bit about your family and what you do in Houston, Texas.
All right. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. I have a very, very, very loving young family. And right from onset, I came to Houston in 1996. Yes, 1996. And since then, I've been here. I spent a little time in Illinois, Chicago, but I didn't quite like it because of the cold and the wind there. So I found a base here. Got married here in 1998 and started raising a family and have 3 children here, all doing well and by the standard of what is here. And they understand that I am a missionary. They understand that I am an activist. And I tell you, those kids, my family is make a lot of sacrifices for what I do. Sometimes I am absent because I'm involved in one thing or the other, trying to get Nigerians to wake up and take their country. I do a lot. Sometimes I travel a lot of times. I don't even spend up to 4 hours of sleep every day since the past. I don't know how, over the past nearly 15, 20 years, I've been on this. And, these children are so understanding of very, I don't know how to describe how happy I am with my family, for the understanding that they show. They are atypical. I'm telling you, because of what I shared privately with you, what happened to me, my family would have come apart, seriously apart. But I'm a hardcore family man because of the background I have in Nigeria. We are very strong family people. My mother and my dad, they were great people. They are a huge inspiration. Both were activists, so you'll be surprised to me that I am what I am. what I am is a reflection of my background, especially my mom and my dad, what they represented. So I'm amplifying their voice, because they didn't have the kind of access to the media that I have right now, and access to a lot of things that I had. So I am so happy that I am taking their message, to the world. It gives me a lot of joy. Yes, things are tough. Now, I've never seen this country the way it has turned out right now. I've never seen the United States the way it is. Sometimes I begin to ask myself a question: are we sliding back, like we are becoming Nigeria here in this country? Yeah, but we are not going to give up. We are fighters. I'm a Rasta man. Rastas don't give up, and so that's what it is. As long as I know, as a Rasta, I refrain from hate, mischief, bigotry, jealousy, and hypocrisy. It's either the truth or nothing else, and that is what I represent. So I would say, on the average, life has been okay, good here. So I see my family intact, very great relationship with my children. So it gives me a lot of joy. Whenever I have the opportunity, like I do a lot for people. I support a lot of people in Nigeria. I support a lot of people in Nigeria. Seriously, I support a lot of people in Nigeria. I share. I taught my children the concept of sharing love, with those who do not have, because the Almighty gave us the opportunity, to be whatever we want to be. But sometimes you find men put obstacles in the ways of others. Along the line, if you are able to, help one or two, it doesn't take a lot to show love and show kindness. That's one thing I teach my children, and they understand that, and they are very much with me in whatever I do. But whenever we have time to spend together, we spend it like there is no tomorrow. And whatever I do for them, they are so appreciative. Give my children $10, they are so happy. When they ask me and I don't have, they say it's okay. They don't fight me. They don't get angry with me. They know that when I do, I share. And my youngest daughter called me the other day. She said, you are so kind. I say, why did you say that? He said, no, you are awesome. You are an awesome dad. You are a very kind man, but that is that. So I am happy, but I am sad with the way Africa is. I'm sad with the way Nigeria is, and that is why what I'm doing is a lifetime commitment. I'm not corrupt. I'm not morally bankrupt, but I do have flaws. But those flaws do not overpower me not to be able to do what I was called to do. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, there's a lot of Nigerians here, almost 600,000 in the United States. I know Texas has the most at about 115,000 Nigerian Americans, and Houston is behind New York, but Houston has a lot of Nigerians. So 600,000 of you guys and gals are in this country. You are an amazing group of people. You're not always on the same page, that's for sure. I'm talking to Madu Ajaja about his life here in the United States as a Nigerian. He's an activist. He's a Pan-Africanist. He's definitely ready for revolution. And while he considers himself a Rasta, which is he's Christian, and many Africans have been Christianized, including the Igbos years ago, he has that zeal to overthrow the oppressors, and the oppressors many times are the same Christian soldiers, the crusaders that have destroyed the planet. I mean, I don't always like to go to Jared Diamond. He did write a book called Collapse: How Societies Choose to Fail or Succeed, and he wrote a book called Guns, Germs, and Steel. I'd much rather have a person of color's books like Eduardo Galeano, and there are plenty of Africans and American Africans who've written about the hellhole that Africa had become because of policies and of imperial overreach. So I really appreciate this. We could talk for hours. We got about 8 minutes left on this particular one. Let's see, what does Oregon have? Oregon has maybe 2,200 Nigerians up here. So when are you going to come up to Oregon, and why would you come up to Oregon, huh, Madu?
Oh, all right. Oregon, coming to Oregon is a sure bet, and hopefully in no distant time, I will come to Oregon because of you. Primarily, you and I met. We come a long way, like you pointed out. I remember the first encounter we had when you were at the Paso, University of Texas at the Paso. That was where we first met, and
El Paso,
we did it.
El Paso, Texas, at the University of Texas, El Paso, where I was a part-time organizer, and all of a sudden in the hallway, I see this man come knocking on the door. And what were you knocking on my door for? To put me in jail or what?
Yes, yes, yes. That was a great moment, And right from there, that English department, right at the University of Texas at El Paso, that was where it all started. And then when you moved to Gonzaga, somehow along the line, we connected again. Then you were at Gonzaga at the time doing a graduate program and then teaching there too. So that became home, and because of it, I kept on coming back. So Oregon is a done deal. I'll be there to see my brother, my friend, Paul Hayden. And perhaps, maybe if possible, I'll be able to meet the Nigerian community there, if it is possible, if you know any of them that we can, talk to and stuff like that. So that would be great. That would be great. I look forward to a trip to Oregon, hopefully sooner.
There's plenty of Nigerians in Portland, but you were going to come up here, something about visiting a prison. Before we go out, what was that gig all about? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm a nurse. I have part of my experience is my areas of specialization is correctional nursing, working in prison facilities. I did that here in Houston at the time. So when somebody looked at my resume and they sent me a message, please, we would love you to come to Oregon to take a position here. We progressed to some extent until I started asking, for family reasons. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. So they got disappointed that I did not do it. So, yeah, I have experience working as a correctional nurse in the prison, and it was fun when I did it here in Houston. So that was the mission to Oregon, but the mission has changed now. It's going to be Paul Hayden, my brother, that I'll be coming to see in Oregon.
Well, I probably will head back to Texas. El Paso I haven't returned to in many, many years, and so maybe Houston will be the first stop. It's 2025, the year of the wooden snake, and I have a snake at home with Lisa, my wife. Copernicus, the ball python I adopted from a vegetarian who didn't want to feed the snake rats anymore, and so it's a weird world. And let's kick this out, man. I mean, I wish I was playing some Bob Marley. What Bob Marley song would we be going out with if I had
Africa Unite? Africa Unite. This is what is this right now?
And will Africa unite? What do you sense by the time you have your grandchildren? Will they be seeing a new continent of thriving and amazing people that have their own independence, or is it going to be earlier than your grandchildren?
I think it's going to be earlier with what is happening. The pressure right now is high. A lot of people don't want the African Union as constituted right now. They are working for an alternative African Union, not this. So I see Africa uniting sooner than later. And I believe it's going to be in my lifetime. I'm not seeing the way it is going, the way things are going, because that is the only way for Africa. That's all the internal troubles, like Bob Marley said. Yes. If we come together, we will overcome all of our internal troubles. All the internal troubles, all the terrorist things, they are not of Africans. They are not. And the reason they are able to succeed to do all this is because the continent is so fragmented. So take, for instance, a little country like a Republic of Benin with a sovereignty. The country's population is not even up to 5 million. All right? How will that country be able to stand up to any external pressure? You remember from one of the allegations Ibrahim Traore had Republic of Benin, and Ivory Coast are being used as bases by France to make terrorist incursions into their territory. Yes, those are little countries like Togo. Togo is too little. So you look at the impact it will have if we bring it together. Africa as a country with one currency, with one economy, without border, and with one military. That is what they are scared of.
Okay,
Yes.
we're out of here.
But it's
We're out of here for this. I'm gonna kick it out, and that's Madhu Ajaja. I will continue this conversation. Take care. Hang in there.